Luxury beauty has always been one of my biggest vices. And so today I'm sharing with y'all the luxury beauty that is truly worth the price. Now, I want to go ahead and define luxury here as far as I consider it, I guess, because it's not just about the price. Luxury is an entire feeling. It has to do with the formula, the packaging, yes, the price, but the overall experience. Do you get that intangible luxury tingle? So while some of the products that I talk about today might be less expensive than other products on the market that don't call themselves luxury, I'm going to explain why I consider them luxury. If you like this video as we go through, definitely give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you are interested, if you haven't already. And I filmed all of this makeup going on, so I will have footage to insert as demonstration for almost every product. So let's go ahead and jump in. Okay, so we are gonna go in order of how the makeup usually goes on my face, but there are more than one in some categories that obviously didn't make it onto my face because I only have one face. Starting with primer. I actually only have one. I used today the Victoria Beckham Cell Rejuvenating Priming Moisturizer as my primer. I only have golden at this point. I do prefer the unpigmented version. They just have a regular version. As you can see as this goes on, it does deepen my skin a little bit, which is something that I don't usually go for in my makeup routine, but hey, I'm wearing something high neck today, so we got away with it. I used this because it's the one I have on hand. My clear one expired. I just need to get a new one, but this is a fantastic product for everything that it says that it does. It has this beautiful hydrated effect, like a plumping effect when you put it on the skin without being slippy. It doesn't add any kind of like oily emollients or anything, but it's also not sticky like a Hydro Grip primer or something. A lot of times when we talk about plumping primers or anything that's gonna make your makeup go on a little bit more smoothly, we end up with that Hydro Grip effect. The Milk Hydro Grip primer builds a layer on top of your skin that, yes, does make the makeup go on more smoothly, but it also kind of turns the makeup into this like weird surreal mask. This doesn't do that. It's so thin, it does soak into the skin. It is truly a moisturizer that is also a primer. I find it to be incredibly effective. It lasts forever, like the amount in the bottle lasts forever. It will eventually expire. This is technically a clean beauty brand, but mine took like 3 years, I think, to expire. So, you know, you've got time. Highly, highly recommend this. And honestly, kicking it off talking about Victoria Beckham Beauty is a great place to start because it would be faster for me to talk about the things that I don't love from her brand than to enumerate all the ones that I do. I don't love the Bitten Lip Tint. The blushes are a little bit difficult to work with, and I'm not a huge fan of the little eye bricks. Everything else, pretty much, mind-blowing, like incredible. So you're going to see some more Victoria Beckham throughout this video, and for good reason. Foundations. Obviously I had to pick one to go on my face today, but there are many I could have gone with, and I didn't go with the one that you think. The one that I'm sure a lot of you thought that I would go with just for today is the Prada Reveal Foundation. Oh my God, what a good foundation. What a good foundation. Yeah, she's luxury. A little bit of a fragrance, kind of like a brand new, I don't know, to me at least, sunscreen filter in there. They say what it is, but I've never heard of it before. It's a chemical sunscreen, and I have never noticed any kind of irritation with this. I have kind of an octinoxate sensitivity, but all of the chemical sunscreens seem to be like a-okay for me. And the beauty of this is it is also extraordinarily thin. It can be worn almost like a skin tint, but it has this really lovely finish to it where it adapts really well to a ton of different skin types. It's actually hard to describe this foundation because it works so well for so many people. For me, it gives me just enough luminosity without making powder products go on weird on top of it and catch. But for people who have kind of oilier complexions, it still helps with oil control. And I find that to be really fascinating how adaptive this is, and I think that this is clever. Like, you get the luxury feel here because the packaging looks and feels luxurious, to me at least. And also you get the glass. I think of glass as being a more luxurious packaging choice, but putting it inside of a plastic case makes it so travel friendly. Like, this is just going to protect it from being tossed around and broken. Can you imagine? I am finally seeing this on displays in some Sephoras. I was in the Sephora, where were we? Chelsea-ish? Linda and I were in the city, and we went to a Sephora, and I can't remember exactly what part of town it was in, but they had all the Prada foundation shades on display. So at least some of the bigger cities, I'm starting to see it. We don't have it here in New Jersey yet, but there's a vast shade range in this, and now you can actually go get shade matched in the US, which is cool. So like I said, that's not the foundation that I'm wearing today. What I did put on my face today was this, the No. 1 Day Chanel Red Camellia Revitalizing Foundation. This is an Ulta and the Chanel website exclusive. You can also get it at the Chanel Atelier in New York City in Soho. And this is almost a placeholder because I want to just give like a broad stamp of approval to all of the Chanel foundations. I think that complexion is what Chanel does best. I don't feel like Chanel gets a ton of recognition for it, and that's probably because for a very, very long time they were extraordinarily selective about the skin tones that they put in their shade ranges, but they are improving. This has a little bit more of a satin finish than the Healthy Glow foundation. I don't totally recommend the Vita Lumiere Aqua, not because I think it's a bad formula, and I'm really glad that they did take the octinoxate out of it when they reformulated it, but the main reason is that the shades are a little bit darker than their counterparts in the other ranges. So I bought B10, which is my shade across the board in all other foundations from Chanel, and it's too deep for me and they don't make a lighter shade in it. So, like I said, some of their offerings are still a little bit limited. Chanel doesn't really answer to anybody. They don't send out PR, they don't take criticism, they just don't really care, okay? But the luxury experience is here. I will say, in the case of luxury beauty, a lot of times that means a fragrance. If you're new to the game, the whole world of luxury beauty, and you don't do fragrances very well, it's gonna be a little harder for you to kind of fully embrace it. Same thing with octinoxate. They love to put an SPF 6 in a foundation. Clownery. And it'll be an octinoxate SPF 6, you know? And I'm just like, thank you, Sisley. Thank you, La Prairie. Thank you, Clé de Peau. Like, I can't try most of their foundations because they all have octinoxate in them, and oddly, like, a lot of them don't even have a shade for me that like fits me perfectly, that I would be willing to spend that much money on. So the Chanel foundations kind of run the gamut. You might pay $65 or you might pay $150. They'll include a brush and be like, it's a brush, you're paying for a brush. It's like, no one's gonna use that brush, Chanel. However, I paid $130 for the Sublimage L'État and I finished it, okay? I haven't finished a foundation maybe ever since I started my channel. I was using this every single day during my like driest skin winter times. I really feel like there is a Chanel foundation for every skin type, maybe not every skin tone just yet. And I'm not gonna make excuses for that. Talking about concealers, this is my singular pick for a luxury concealer, and it's a case of it actually being a very good value for the money. The Givenchy Prism Libre Skin Caring Concealer is one of the best concealers that I've ever used. I really have like I had a top 3, I have a top 4 now. This one, the Tower 28, which is $22, like, go off. Kosas, I love the Kosas Revealer Concealer, and now I'm super into the very not new at all Jouer Essential High Coverage Concealer. I'm committing that one to memory. I love them all. This one is super hydrating. It wears all day for me. It makes a fantastic concealer and a fantastic foundation, and they did crank the price up, I think $2. I think this is $39 instead of $37, but still, you're talking about like ballpark $100 an ounce, which is mind-blowing for a concealer. That's just a really great value for a concealer, especially a luxury concealer. And I do really love the Givenchy packaging. Like, is this the most luxurious thing in the world? No, we're still talking about plastic, but it gives me the vibes when I use it. There's just something really abundant about it that even though the product is abundant, we're not talking about something really precious, there is something really like substantial about the packaging that doesn't feel chintzy or drugstore. Contour. Again, this is a choice that is also representative of my love for an entire brand. Like, I think that every one of these stick products from Westman Atelier is absolutely amazing. Did I use the concealer today? No, I probably could have. That's true. That would have gone really nicely with this. The Vital Skin Foundation Stick, I just bought a new one so that I could get the more accurate shade for me. Let's go ahead, I'm getting derailed, but like, look at the coverage on this. It is bananas. Like, it just fixes everything. I think that when we talk about clean beauty, a lot of times we start to think, oh, it's gonna be low coverage and low performance. Not Westman Atelier. Anyway, this is Biscuit. This is the contour that I use. They did finally expand the shade range. I think there are 3 shades at this point, but Biscuit is just such an OG color for me. It looks very similar to my khaki lip liner that I made with Thrive, but also Westman Atelier recently, as a site exclusive, released their Squeaky Clean Liquid Lip Balm in Biscuit. They did take the fragrance out. I will lament that every single time, but it's why I made Sparkling Limoncello in my first Finding Ferdinand collection, is because I needed a lip gloss that smelled like limoncello because they made their lip glosses stop smelling like limoncello. So anyway, this is an unbelievably beautiful formula. Like I said, all these cream formulas are very high performing on tons of different skin types. Almost goes down to a powder finish without being silicone-y. It performs a little bit like a Rare Beauty bronzer stick, but it's not as slippy. It definitely has more grip on the skin instead of slip, and they've done an absolutely incredible job with packaging, okay? It's heavy, it is durable, it's magnetic, and the details are there. Like, it says Westman Atelier on the inside of the cap right there. And they have minis on Sephora for $26. You will never use one of these up. Like, I never recommend a mini because I hate interacting with a mini, but in this case, it's just as luxurious and it's probably a more practical size, and it's definitely a more practical price. It's just always been iconic. And what I love about it is it comes with a lot of curriculum from Gucci Westman. First of all, like, she does a ton of actual like teaching on her social media channels about how to use this stuff, and it is incredibly useful information. She just has a really unique take on how to wear makeup, and I really appreciate that. But also, there are tons of brands that kind of aim to solve your routine with all of their products, and when they all come together, they don't always make sense as a unit. The Westman Atelier products all make sense. I've said it before, I'll say it again, this is a product line that if I were not a YouTuber, this is the makeup that I would own for myself. So the powder that I chose. This is a powder that I do think is worth the money. This is the Givenchy Prism Libre powder. It is fragranced, but this is really cool stuff, y'all. Okay, it has the most unbelievably lightweight presence on the skin. Like, it is featherweight. And as a color theory nerd, I love that there are so many shades in this that all kind of claim to be translucent, because they're all different like undertone values depending on what it is that you're trying to accomplish, but they all behave in this way that just like kind of brightens but also disappears, and it's not super oil controlling. I don't need oil control. In fact, I need to not have oil control. Give me all the oil. But this is one of the most elegant formulas of a powder that gently changes the texture on the skin, takes the shine down, and does nothing more. And while I absolutely admit that the 4 shade situation is very fussy, I like it because I'm a color theory nerd, okay? Plus, I just think it's like a fun little thing. It's like a fun little whim. Bronzer! I will surprise no one here, but I chose the Gucci. I think that someone would have like checked me for a fever if I hadn't put this in this video, because this is one of the most luxurious products to interact with that I own, and it is truly my favorite packaging of anything that I own in my entire collection. So it's the Gucci bronzer. That was me briefly thinking about trying to pronounce the French words. I decided against it. So I have this in the shade 1, and I am not a fan of how they have changed the inner packaging to be turquoise now. So I think if you buy it now, the inside is turquoise. Mine's gold. I need to clean her up. She's a little bit messy, but you know what? She's loved, and I use this all the time. It is one of the most uncommon colors in a bronzer. It is this desaturated rosy brown. This is why this product hits all the marks for me in terms of luxuries, because we've got the packaging, we have the performance, and then we also have something really uncommon in terms of the shade. I have yet to find a bronzer that matches that. And what a color like that is good for is that it doesn't go orange on olive skin tones. So while it works really beautifully as kind of a blushy bronzer for me, I did go in with another bronzer on top of it because I did end up with quite a golden look on my eyes. I wanted to richen my cheeks up a little bit. This is such an excellent bronzer, and it's a great winter shade for me because it brings kind of a healthy flush back to my cheeks without looking like I'm trying to fake a tan. So the bronzer that I did add to get this kind of golden glow everywhere, I haven't had long enough to tell you whether or not I recommend it. But it is the Luminous Silk Bronzing Powder from Armani Beauty. I love an abundant pan like this. This is a really gorgeous compact. I'm really glad that they updated the compact because the limited edition that came out during the holidays had like an unfinished glitter coat on the top, and the glitter came off and it was in one shade, and I think that everybody was like, no. And so they came out with this with a ton of other shades. So I adore this. Yes, it has a little bit of shimmer in it. I don't care. You know what I mean? I don't care. It looks great. And I love that it does have this golden, a little tiny bit of green, like a little tiny bit of olive in there. And that's doing a really great job of like pulling this like bronzy patina color out of the eyeshadow, which we will get to, but it's just such a good match for that. Again, I don't know whether I love it enough yet to recommend it, but that is what I used and I like it so far. Okay, so the blush that I used, again, the packaging is a little bit fussy, but I think that it is worth it because this is a superior formula. The Givenchy Prism Libre blushes have the most incredible formula. Lighter than air, finely milled, and these colors, they are so lovely. So anytime I have applied like side by side or swatched them next to each other against like, you know, the Dior or any other blush that has come out that has this same kind of like neon lavender profile to it, which is a very, very like flattering shade for a ton of different skin tones. This is the one whose texture always wins. It does something so beautiful and blurring on the skin. And it also comes in a ton of shades. I have this in the coral as well as the mousseline shade, and I would own all of them if I could. Cream blush, I mean, I don't need to spend a whole lot of time here. I will just talk about the color. I used Mimi on my cheeks today from Westman Atelier. It is another site exclusive. It is the most delicious desaturated beige pink. I also recently bought the new shades, Garçon and Coquette. The only problem with the Westman Atelier blushes is that they bully each other off of your desk, you know, off of your makeup table because of the magnets. You'll just be like, uh-oh, why is that one on the floor? It's like, because they were up to no good. So here is, ooh, okay, that's really valuable. So Garçon is gonna be more purple and deeper in general, but still desaturated. And then Mimi is, you know, peach by comparison. I would not necessarily recommend Mimi for an olive undertone. That is one that's going to shock you. You know, you're gonna put it on, you're gonna be like, oh, it's gonna be this beautiful beige. Dadgummit, why does it turn orange? So I would recommend Garçon all day long for the green undertone people. I'm sorry, I'm nerding out about that kind of thing, but I can wear all of them. Cause I'm special. That's how that sounded. I can wear all of them. I don't know. I just have neutral skin. Maybe that's why I like blush so much, is because I really like am not excluded from any of the colors that you can use in blush except for cherry red. Like I cannot wear a cherry red, full stop. I love the Westman Atelier blushes. I think they're worth every penny because I have bought all of these myself. I did not film this going on because my camera died and it was kind of a game time decision anyway, but I was like, oh my God, I can't talk about luxury things that are worth the money, especially from an excitement standpoint, without talking about the Baume Essentiel from Chanel. These are just so indulgent and lovely. I have this one, which is Dragé, which is always around, whatever they call it, it's permanent to the collection. And then I also have Mermaid Glow, which it goes in and out of stock, but it is limited edition. But this is the one that I used today. I will tell my story about discovering Dragé. I had some time to kill in Soho before I was meeting up with a friend for lunch. I think I was meeting Ingrid, and I decided to go in there. I had never been in there before, and I started just touching everything. The atelier is so cool. It's just so cool. And you would think that everybody there would be a snob. They're not. They're incredibly nice. They're like so nice. They're like, yeah, play, touch everything, whatever. Put it in this pan when you're done. And so it's very easy to walk around, try things, and go, add that to my tab, add that to my tab, I'll take 2 of those kind of thing, and then you just ring out when you leave. It's a dangerous place. It was summer, and I was like kind of melting, you know, and had that like crepiness underneath my eyes. This does come in a clear, which I might get for summer, but the beauty of this is you take it, you put it on the skin, and it doesn't disturb the makeup that's underneath it, but it like revives it. It rehydrates it. It gives this dewy appearance of like, yeah, I'm wearing a full beat in terms of like every single step and the amount of makeup that I'm wearing, but like this makes your skin look like it's almost bare, without having a ton of shimmer. And also, again, without moving your makeup around. I misspoke. I should have said that the other exception to the, you know, across the board Westman Atelier love, I don't love the lit up highlight stick. And it's because I think it's one of the hardest things to formulate is a highlighting balm that doesn't then kind of pick the makeup back up. And I don't know how they did it, but the Chanel one is the best one. And it's in metal packaging. It's very heavy. Let's see how much actual product you get. A butt ton, a metric butt ton, and they are, I want to say like 50 bucks. So yeah, that's a luxury price, but you're getting a ton for your money, and they're just so fun. Not just fun conceptually, like a multi-chrome highlighter that you're like, oh, that's pretty when I swatch it, but I'm never gonna put it on kind of thing. Like, this is fun to use. It's satisfying to wear, and that's why I own 2 of them. Did I need to? No, but I bought 2. I think that we're on eyes now. I have a lot more than I thought that I would in terms of what I want to talk about for eyes. I'll start with what I have on my eyes. I will preface this also by saying you cannot go wrong with Surratt, okay? From a luxury standpoint, the money that you spend on a Surratt eyeshadow will not be money wasted. I also have a discount code because they're very expensive. I think you can just use khaki15 and get 15% off of your order. I think that that's what it is. I will put it on the screen. But they have this unique way of formulating all of their powders that translates to the most sophisticated, blends itself, easy to use eyeshadow formula. And while they have pre-made palettes and quads, you can also make your own. And that is what's so cool to me about Surratt, is that they are always just a step ahead in terms of what we should expect from luxury beauty. I think that a lot of luxury beauty brands get criticized for being kind of staid, you know? They find something that works, they find a customer who's going to buy it, and they don't really take a lot of initiative to evolve. But Surratt, I feel like, is just a luxury experience across the board that is so different. And I feel like that difference is kind of a makeup artist's point of view. It's like a very luxurious brand with a makeup artist point of view. Also, their packaging is lovely. So this is actually what I based my eyes with. I'm gonna go out of order here. I mean, this is my like dream one and done shadow. This is Ciel de Ray in their Souffle eyeshadow. And it's weird. Look, it goes squishy, 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 squishy. Okay. I love that it's me talking about luxury. Like, am I really the ideal ambassador for being like, this is luxury beauty? My Instagram says, make luxury chaotic again. And that is what I intend to do. That is what we're doing every day on my channel. Look at that color. Look at that color. That was my jumping off point for this golden eye look. And I just chased that feeling right down the rabbit hole. This quad has this incredible bronze in it that also leans a little bit of that like green gold, just ever so slightly. Yes, it has a nice kind of warm base to it, but it's slightly patina, and I do feel like that led me in the direction of like a golden bedroom eyes brown. And it is just that subtle bit of bronze versus brown that I feel like made this look so unique. And I know that because I used the cream shadow underneath, and also because these are so reliable in general, this is an eye look that will wear all day. I would recommend Surratt for your wedding day. So that was what I started with on my eyes. Then, I can't help myself, y'all. I had to go in with the Victoria Beckham lid lusters. This is an interesting case of, these are about the same price as like most single eyeshadows, right? So we're not talking about something that's, well, Chantecaille priced. I don't think that Chantecaille eyeshadows, their single eyeshadows, are worth $55, $60, you know, or like 75 in some cases. I think there have been like single eyeshadows that are like $75, like in this economy. I mean, at some point we all have to kind of like pull ourselves down from the stratosphere, right? So anyway, these are like in the, you know, $30 to $40 range. I can't really remember, but I mean, you know, talking about kind of an hourglass type price, but look at the difference in the experience, right? I mean, I'm never going to kick an hourglass scattered light eyeshadow out of bed. I own 3 of them and I've bought all of them, but these are just special in every way. I do kind of wish, it's a lot like Elisa Eldridge in the sense where I wish that I could be in the room requesting the colors, because this is such a delicious formula, but the colors just have not quite hit the perfect little zone for me yet. Like, we don't have a perfect, rich, warm brown yet. And that is what I want out of everything, because it's all about me and my needs. But talking about that beautiful bronzy color story that I was going with, Starlight was really the intuitive choice because it does have that little bit of patina gold to it. We're not talking about a yellow gold. We're talking about kind of like a more bronzy gold. And I keep wiping the swatches off, and I shouldn't do that because this is a color story that it serves a purpose to kind of see it all together. So there we have Ciel de Ray. This is that brown I was talking about in the quad. And then there we have Starlight. And then, you know, I used to say that the Victoria Beckham lid lusters didn't pick up well on a brush, and that was a kind of drawback for me because I wanted to be able to put it on my lower lash line, and having to do that with like my pinky was a little bit uncomfortable. I used to use the like back end of her eyeliners, little smudgers, to do it, and that worked okay, but it would still have fallout. Well, I thought a little better of it today. I was like, oh wait, that's the exact complaint that I had about the Natasha Denona shimmers. Turns out using a natural bristle brush like my rougher brushes made all the difference in the world, and lo and friggin' behold, okay? I used a rougher brush for this, and I was able to get it like in this beautiful gradient on my inner corner and on my brow bone. So this is chiffon. This is not, I would say, like part of the color story, quote unquote. It just happens to be a really beautiful cool toned pearl. Okay, I'm wrong. That goes really well with Ciel de Ray. So that is the color story that's on my eyes today. I was gonna say it's gonna be like, you know, too silvery, but it's not. It's actually just like a very, 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 very desaturated peach. All those things go so well together. And then, like I said, it was the difference between that. I'm sorry, I'm in the color theory weeds again. Just bear with me. It was that made me reach for the Armani bronzer to finish this look off because it's got that green in it versus the Gucci, which is what I started with, which you're gonna see it's like, that's rosy. So it works, but I needed this to kind of anchor the rest of my face, my complexion, so that my eyes didn't look incongruous, because it really is this color Starlight that's like the star of the show, right? So to speak. And so that was my thought process in choosing the colors that I chose, but these are all formulas that I stand behind wholeheartedly. Now, let's talk about the eyeshadows that just didn't make it onto my face today, that I still love and would absolutely stand behind. Snap out of it. I would absolutely stand behind. Why am I like this? Starting with the Lisa Eldridge eyeshadow palettes, I do think that these are kind of expensive, and this is not an original color story. I rearranged all of mine. I'm not typically a rearranger, but again, it's like I said, the Victoria Beckham eyeshadows, I'm like, we don't have the colors that I want yet. I have so much respect for these formulas, but like we're still not quite in the colors that I want to wear. I want to wear the rich browns, not the coppers, and not the cool gray browns, and not the pinky browns. I want a rich, warm, chocolatey brown, and I want to just kind of explode from there, right? Every texture, every saturation value. I really need to partner with someone to make a bedroomized brown palette, okay? I need to get this out of my system. So anyway, I didn't use these today, but my goodness gracious, they are so incredible and so unique. So you can tell by the way that they look in the pan, it's like, that's not really how you typically see wear happen in an eyeshadow, you know, due to just continued use. And that's because these are kind of like a hybrid formula. They're very silicone-y and they have a little bit of a putty feel, at least the mattes do. I think there's even like 2 matte formulas. They are another case of a formula that goes on so beautifully in a swatch, but you might be a little frustrated with it when you try and use a synthetic brush with it. But if you use a natural bristle brush, you're going to be able to get the, you know, the full saturation, especially on deep skin tones. I feel like it can be a little frustrating to build these unless you are, it's like the Hindash 2. Unless you're using a natural bristle brush, it's just not gonna pick up enough of the pigment because it is so silicone-y and slippy. They're very different from anything else that I have. The closest thing I would compare them to is almost a like melted down eyeshadow stick, or like the Danessa Myricks putties. They're not quite as like putty as her putties, science, but that's kind of what I would compare them to. And also these satins are so satisfying that it's like, it's really hard to compare them to other things. What it does translate to though is a very long wearing formula. I pulled this one because it was in the drawer. My other one is literally in use somewhere. Like that's how much I love these, and I don't know where it is because I travel so much. I just threw in a bag. But the YSL Couture mini clutches. This is 200, and then Storadolls is the other one that I love. But like this is, I would would say the closest to a Surratt formula that I have found on like the mainstream luxury market, but it is still different and great in its own right. The other thing with this particular Color Story 200 is that, at least on me, on my neutral skin, let me show you. This is such a weird exercise, but like, that's Dolce Vita from NARS. That is a mauve blush. So it looks like, oh, that's gonna go with that. That's a mauve blush, and that is a mauve leaning eyeshadow palette, and those things are going to go together beautifully, okay? Then we have Sex Appeal, which is a peachy pink. And suddenly, between that top shade and the shimmer in the middle, and even the brown, it looks like it's a pink leaning palette, right? Like it looks like, oh, that's gonna go beautifully with just a pinky rose face of makeup. And testing the damn limits, okay? If you were to desaturate a coral like 30 from Giorgio Armani, you could still, it would be a little bit of a stretch and you'd have to use a little bit more of this top shade right here, but you could still get this palette to go with a coral makeup look if you played your cards right. It's a shapeshifter. And I feel like it's underappreciated in that respect. Like this is a shapeshifter of a palette, of a quad. I believe all we have left are lips now. I say that like I'm surprised. I've been filming for almost an hour. Like, I have two feelings about luxury lip products, right? You can either choose to suspend your disbelief and indulge, right? A luxury lip product is in and of itself the lipstick effect. The lipstick effect is basically saying like, when we don't all have the money to be spending on a Chanel bag, we still probably have the money to spend on a Chanel lipstick. Like that's a totally different tax bracket, right? I don't own a Chanel bag. And yet, you're still getting to interact with a Chanel product. And for the people who love luxury, that's the point, you know? And so for a much lower buy-in, you're still getting the tingles, the intangibles. And that only matters to you if that matters to you. Because I will say that lip products are probably the most dupable thing on the market. If you don't care about packaging, if you don't care about really like unique, esoteric, nuanced shades in a lipstick, if you don't care about a name brand, then you can find some of the most beautiful, functional, delightful, satisfying lip, especially lip gloss formulas at the drugstore end of Ulta, right? You can shop all the drugstore brands and also like ColourPop. ColourPop like has fantastic luxe lip glosses. Just great stuff, okay? You don't need to pay a fortune to get a good lip product. And it bears mentioning also that not all luxury lip products are even good, especially when it comes to lipsticks. Like I love a La Perla lipstick, but to me a Gucci lipstick is not worth putting up with the smell. So I don't think that necessarily like luxury equals quality in terms of lip products specifically on either end. I don't think that like drugstore equals bad or that luxury automatically equals good. Lipsticks can be a little bit more touch and go because we're talking about like colors in a lot of cases, but I do think that still like you can usually find something just as good at the drugstore, and I am not a drugstore girly. I'm not. But those are the two sides of it to me. If you want to suspend your disbelief and really enjoy the luxury of a luxury lip gloss because interacting with it gives you the tingles and the formula to you is just as good as anything else, but it's about the entire package, then those are the ones I'm going to talk about, right? But then there's the other camp where it's like, is that really better than any other lip gloss? The answer is absolutely not. In the case of like a foundation, all the other stuff that I talked about today, I truly think that the quality is better than lower priced products in most cases. But when it comes to lip glosses and stuff, it's just about the tingles for me, especially because these gigantic brands own the luxury brands and the drugstore brands. And a lot of times with like a lip gloss, they're basically the same. Blah, blah, blah. You've all heard my spiel about the YSL candy glazes. I love them. They're delicious. They have this like really super drippy, right? Like syrupy, gorgeous glossiness on the skin, and they come in a ton of really beautiful colors. I am not a fan of wearing the ones that are pigmented because they are a little bit pigmented for my taste. But if you want a luxury experience, the clear one gives you the full YSL experience. It's so heavy and delightful and also nourishing. It's just a really great product. It's one of those ones where it's like when you look at somebody and you're like, is it really that good for like, you know, $40 something, and then you try it and you're like, dadgummit, I'm in the cult now. So there you go. I also really love these, the Dior Addict Lip Maximizers. It is a kind of hybrid plump. It has a little bit of a mintiness to it and a little bit of a spiciness to it, but it doesn't darken the lips. This is Opal. I think that these, again, are just a really beautiful way to indulge, right? They tend to have these really fun, like, reflects and shifts in them. They also have uncommon colors. They have a blue and like a really awesome, cool, icy lilac and things like that. It has taken me, I think I almost picked up the blue, except it was out of stock the last time I was at Sephora. So there are a bunch of Dior lip products, and honestly, Dior has a lot of pH adjusting products. I do think that they handle it better than other brands, but it's still not my favorite thing. These are not pH adjusting. They're just really awesome, and they do plump your lips. It's a great product. This is what I'm wearing today. Okay, I actually ended up with Martini on my lips today because Starlight and that are not too far off from one another once you get this on the lips. Like, yes, the suspension is a little bit peachier, but once it's on the lips, it's like, okay, it's giving gold in the best way possible. And while it's not, I wouldn't consider it to be like a super luxury product, I am wearing, again, M1990 today from Mob Beauty because I'm really into it. This is an exception to me talking about like, oh, they're all created equal. The Victoria Beckham ones are just better. This is the best lip gloss I've ever used. It doesn't do any white ring of death business. The colors are rare and phenomenal. Bikini? Come on. Come on. When I did my collab with Finding Ferdinand, and you can actually buy now more of the Cafe Noisette, all of the lip glosses from that collection that sold out so fast. The hex codes are on my Instagram. I was making a hybrid shade between this and Chanel Boy, because I don't love the Chanel Boy, like that formula specifically, and I still wanted some sparkle and a little bit more gray for what I was doing. But that is what my friend Linda of Glitter Fallout would call a slutty nude, okay? It kind of like blanks the lips out in a milky way, and there are other shades that do that for other skin tones in the range. So tan line, I think, is for kind of like warm or olive undertone, like mid-tone skin tones. And then poolside is this gorgeous, like creamy, cool brown that's gonna do the same thing, that beautiful, milky, slutty nude on deep skin tones. I think that this is a beautifully, as they say, fleshed out shade range. And every time that they put out a new shade, I'm like, oh, an excuse to buy one. Like, that's how I feel about these. They're just that good. There's no fragrance, no plumping. They're in glass. They've got this beautiful, like, horn print on the top. Like, this is a full experience. Like, this is a full luxury experience, and I have never once regretted spending my money on these. I think that they're superior in the entire experience. I just think it's a superior, like, formula, and these colors are really uncommon. Is that super uncommon? No, I bought it because it thrilled me, you know, and it also reminds me of Sparkling Limoncello. But Bikini, are you kidding me? I don't have anything that looks like that or wears like that. They're exceptional, and I'll die on that hill. And finally, the most absurd one that I love, because yes, I own 2 of the Tom Ford, you know, Luxe lip oil things, actually 3. I have the rose one, and I have 2 of these shades of the regular one with color. I can't remember what it's called. They're like $70 a piece. I don't recommend them. Like, they're fine, but the rosy one is too rosy, to be honest, and the other ones, I just feel like they have too much color to them. They're for lipstick people. Either way, this is the Byredo Frozen Memo Lip Gloss. Just look at this. Just look at it. Is that not just like millennial who grew up on, you know, a steady diet of Limited 2 and Claire's, translated to I'm 37 in the year of our Lord 2024, and this is how I tap into that nostalgia kink. It's this lava lamp thing. I don't know, it's just so pretty, and also I have a big problem with things that look like this in the tube and then turn hot pink on my lips because they're pH color adjusting, and this doesn't do that. That is also why I will probably pick up the blue Dior. I just think that having colors like this in my routine, it's a color theory nerd's dream. To be able to just put a sheer wash of a basic color onto your lips, and either it matches exactly what you're trying to do, or it's just a see what happens, very low stakes kind of game. Buying luxury beauty is a high stakes game, that's why I'm here, but a lip gloss like this is a low stakes game because we're not talking about a ton of pigment. This is the Bobbi Brown one, by the way. I don't consider this, I mean, it's expensive. It's like just as expensive as a lot of these, but it's not a luxury experience, I don't feel like. But the Byredo's 50 bucks. That's stupid. I admit that that's stupid. And it does have a scent that like isn't, I mean, It's lovely. I love the scent, but it isn't like the most pleasant thing to taste. It's not anywhere near Gucci, like a Gucci lipstick or something, or good God, the freaking Givenchy La Rose, the La Rose Perfecto. I can't put those on my mouth. I taste perfume instantly and all day, and it just never goes away. This, you don't really notice it after a minute or two, but like if you're drinking something, so you're kind of like almost like ingesting your own lip gloss, you'll taste it. But the smell is lovely. I wish it just smelled like that, and I wish they would put just like a sweet flavor in it so that you didn't taste the fragrance. Especially because I know that that's probably not considered like a luxury thing to do, to put a flavor in a lip gloss. The La Mer one is sweet, and I'm not recommending that either. I'm keeping that as my own private shame. Okay, do I love the La Mer lip volumizer? Yes. Am I going to recommend that you spend $90 on it in this economy? No. Okay, no. So couched within all of the caveats that I just provided regarding the way that you need to believe in luxury in order to appreciate a luxury lip gloss, this is truly the encapsulation of a luxury kink in a bottle. Okay, it's just great. It's just great. So that is where we conclude today. If y'all appreciated this, please do give the video a thumbs up. If you've not yet subscribed, subscribe while you're here for more making luxury chaotic again. And I'll put a video up here that I think you'll enjoy. If you liked this one, I want to thank all of my current subscribers and my current patrons for being here. I love y'all so very, very much. And I will hopefully see y'all in the next one.